everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And I wanted to give an introduction to my guest this week. His name is Jeremy Downing. He's my TikTok friend, and I met him just through TikTok a few months ago. It was funny when I started doing my podcast, I realized he also had a podcast called Soonercast, and I reached out to him and asked if he would be a guest because my friends all during football season were sending his TikToks back and forth in our friend group, and he is the most hilarious guy ever, and he's a huge Sooner fan who was born into it. So I hope that you enjoy conversation today with Jeremy Downing. All right, Jeremy. Well, thank you for coming on my show today. I just sent you a message and just said, hey, you want to be on my show? So thank you for agreeing.
I love it. I'm doing one of the things I love doing most, and that's talk OU. So
absolutely.
Right down my alley. I'll have to twist my arm, that's for sure.
Same here. I am more comfortable talking football and softball. I don't know as much about basketball as I do the other two, but I still watch it and follow it and know what's going on. I know that's kind of what I know, right? I don't want to say it's my least favorite sport. That sounds bad, but like if OU plays it, I follow it and watch it. So that's just that. But I just get so hardcore into football and softball that's about all my nerves can take. You know, by the time football's over, I have a couple months to recover before softball, and then vice versa. So that seems to work out good for my nervous system. But still, basketball, if I was as emotionally involved in basketball as I was the other two, we would definitely have some problems right now. I mean, I'm obviously still disgusted, but I mean, I look back over the years. I was in college at OU back in the early 2000s. So during the 2000 football season that you referred to as one of your favorite memories. Yeah. I mean, those were good years even for basketball, making the Sweet 16. So I've got lots of memories with all the sports from back then, but I wish we could get back there, but I don't know what it's going to take. Well, I have some ideas.
Yeah, I got about $1.5 million ideas to throw out there for players, but venues and all that stuff, that's a whole, and that's one thing too with basketball that I think you are the same with a lot of OU fans, is I grew up a big OU basketball fan. I played basketball. Those guys were idols of mine. I mean, football's always going to be my love.
Same.
But I follow all of them. My daughter plays competitive softball, and I coach her. So softball's kind of been like grown over the years, especially with when my daughter, the older she gets. I mean, we're going to bring her on our pod to talk softball because she breaks down stuff better than probably I could to people.
That's awesome.
But basketball is, I think, that's one thing I've tried to get through to people is like, everybody complains about, we're not getting the attendance and we don't have a good product to put on. I'm sorry. It's just like if I had a restaurant and I served crap food every single day and then I went and complained about why people didn't come to my restaurant. That's what OU basketball is. We are serving uncooked food right now. And
you're not wrong.
we cannot be upset about people not coming to OU basketball. Like with OU basketball, you have to put a great product on the floor, and we're not doing it. So
that's so true. I don't have season basketball tickets, but I do have season football. But I always get like a mini pack of basketball tickets, and that's what I did this season. And so I've been at 4 other games. Like I was at Texas, I was at the A&M game. I was there last week at Tennessee, which Tennessee I kind of expected it not to go well, but like we should have won that A&M game. We should have won that Texas game. And even Texas, that was a 9:00 tip on a Wednesday night. The crowd was decent considering, and I can't remember if school was back in session. I don't think it was. The crowd was nice for the Texas game, and it was pretty loud in there. And I was shocked given the timing of it all and how we were performing at the time. But I mean, I agree with you. Like, last Saturday against Tennessee, I even thought, given the situation, the crowd was decent. But it's not packed. And again, I don't blame the people for not coming. And like this Saturday night, we play LSU, which we should win that game too, but who knows. But they're playing at the same time. and I know this sounds crazy, as men's gymnastics has their last home meet of the season, and they're the number one team in the nation. So if you're trying to decide if you're somebody like me who supports all OU sports for the most part, which event do I want to go see? Well, I mean, it's crazy to think that some people might choose men's gymnastics over basketball, but they're putting a product on their floor that's worth watching. And if you go to Lloyd Noble, you're probably not going to get anything worth seeing. So there's that. I
Yeah, they're
mean,
gonna have a hard time getting concession vendors to work that game. I think against LSU, and I'm not so like everybody's like, well, we should beat LSU. I don't go into it saying that I don't trust anything that we do. I'm like, would it surprise me if we got beat by LSU? No, nope,
yeah.
probably not. I I just I watch a team that's given up, and they have given up, and that's worrisome because I don't. I going into this season football at OU Sports, I was never let's fire the coach guy,
Oh,
but
yeah, no.
I've completely flipped this year. They have beat me down to where I'm like I love Brent Venables, and I remember we did a pod and I said if people know me, they're gonna be like, is somebody in his body? Because there's no way he's saying all this stuff. Because I was just like, I don't know where else to go, and that's how I feel with Porter Moser. Like,
I agree.
where do we go? There's nothing else that he can't show me anything else where I'd be like, oh, okay, now we got it turned around. Because he'll give you a good game like Vanderbilt, and then we'll come back and have three straight games where we've got beat by an average score of 23 points the last three games.
Yep.
And there ain't any program in America that's just going to just say, okay, that's fine. So
No, not at
I don't,
all.
I just don't, I want him to survive because I don't think it's good as a fan base to just go fire coaches. But also, too, you have to eventually, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And we have been doing a lot of insanity here
We
with
have.
the program. So
We
I've
have.
actually seen what we're doing this season the last 3 years. So it's like Groundhog Day.
It really is. I actually mentioned that on my podcast that dropped yesterday, just talking about, and I hate even saying this because I love Brent Venables. I've been a big fan of him since he was at OU, in the early 2000s. And when he came back, I thought, oh my gosh, he's our guy. Like, this is going to be perfect. And I felt the same way about Porter. My husband and I, we love March Madness, and we always do brackets and follow and all of that. And we usually try to attend some round of the tournament if there's one nearby. So we were actually at the Final Four in San Antonio when Porter Moser was there with Loyola Chicago. And he was fun to watch coaching. His team was well coached, obviously, and played well in that tournament. And I thought when OU got him, I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And to say that they've both been lackluster in their performance the last few years is putting it mildly. And I don't know much about Porter's personal life, but I know, for Brent, like he's had a lot going on personally with his wife and everything. And that's really hard too, because that plays a factor in how he's mentally doing. But at the same time, you got to do your job. And
Yeah.
so that's been hard for me to kind of wrap my brain around being so excited about both of those guys coming in, in a similar time frame. They've crapped the bed, for lack of a better term, both of them. And I really want both of them to survive. I want both of them to turn it around and get their crap together. But
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be something drastic. Like you said, I don't know with Porter. I don't know what else he can do. Now, Brent has made a lot of changes, and there's a lot of hope in this next season. So we'll see what happens with that. But basketball, yeah, I just don't know. And I think you
Yeah.
guys were talking on your pod last night about the arena, and I have mixed feelings on the new arena, which is really neither here nor there because I'm not important enough for it to matter. But I just don't. I mean, I'm not saying that Lloyd Noble doesn't need updates. I'm sure that it does. But no one's going to want to invest in that when you can't fill up the arena you have and the team is the product that it is. And the money needs to be spent on the players, not the
Yeah.
arena right now, in my opinion. But I don't know what's ever going to happen with that anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually talking to my brother today about that, and I said, I mentioned it on the pod last night. Our money needs to be going to L. Mitchell right now.
Oh,
Like
yes, that's so true.
that
Yeah.
facility is, I think they ranked up to 15 college baseball teams in the SEC. We were 14, and
Yeah, that's
you look
bad.
at that. That was really good field in the 90s.
Mhm.
But I've been to Arkansas,
Mhm.
and I understand it, but it's the Walton's money, and they're going to always have great facilities. But like, I know we're trying to make changes and trying to renovate that, but they need a new field.
They
It's
really
just
do.
it's not, and that is putting a good enough product out there. I think
Mhm.
with Skip Johnson, they have a good enough team to where you can invest money in that.
Yes.
But the basketball hasn't given these boosters or anybody else anything to say, okay, yes, we'll give you the money because it's just like I said, it's like owning your restaurant. You got to keep serving good food, and if you ain't
Yeah,
serving good food, people ain't gonna come. So,
it's
and
true.
what like you were talking too about Tennessee and how like and some of these other games that had good crowds. It always worries me when we have big crowds because I don't know if you've realized this. Every time we have good crowds, we play the worst basketball you've ever seen.
You're not
And
wrong.
I'm, I'm like, why? And I'm like, God dang it, we have a bunch of people there. That's not good
I
because I
know.
know what we're going to do. And I don't know if they're just putting pressure on themselves or what, but it's like every time we have a big crowd, I mean, crap the bed. That's the best analogy to put it. So,
It is. I felt that way at the Texas game because, like I said, I was shocked that there were that many people there on a Wednesday night, 9 o'clock tip. And
mhm.
we had kind of been back and forth at that point in the season. And I thought, oh my gosh, like it was pretty full in there. I would say 90% full. I can't remember the attendance. I feel like they said what it was, but I don't remember. But anyway, it was pretty packed in there. Now, granted,
Yeah.
people started leaving at halftime because it was 10:30, 10
Mhm.
o'clock. It was late and we were down by 20 at half, close to it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't really show up to play basketball till the second half of the second half. And so, and at that point, I mean, I stayed because I was going to leave a little early just because I had to drive an hour and a half back home. But we started catching up. We started showing up and playing. And I thought, okay, well, I can't leave now. What if we pull this out? And then I thought maybe there was a chance that we could. And I thought if we would have just done this sooner, we probably could have won that game. Because Texas came in at 0-3 in the conference like we were at the time. And there was no excuse for us not to. We had the crowd there. It was loud. And
Yeah.
there was no excuse to not win that game. And that honestly, I feel like was almost a pivotal point for us, which I know the whole season's been a crapshoot. But I mean, we should have won that game and we had it right there and we didn't and it was frustrating. And then now look at us. It's just
Yeah. Well, that A&M game changed the whole season.
it
It,
did.
if we win that game, we have a completely different mindset. We're 1-1 instead of 0-2 and blowing an 18-point lead.
Mhm.
And there's just been little parts like we go to Georgia, that's a winnable game. And I said last night, people are like, well, that's a bad game matchup for us against Missouri. And I said, if we're going into Missouri saying that we can't win, we are not a tournament team. I'm sorry.
No.
So you
Not
take that completely at like, don't even put us on the bubble. If that is our mindset, like we can't even compete with
yeah.
Missouri, they backed that up last night for everybody. We
Yeah.
can't.
We
But
def
one thing, I grew up, I played AAU basketball, and so I know what AAU basketball looks like. That's what we're playing. A bunch of one-on-one, just you do whatever you can, and you get one-on-one, and just like no screens, anything like that. And I watched that last night. I go, that is an AAU offense we're running. So, and like I said, Porter might have some great game plans, but they're not being ran and not being done. So
not at all. And how
that's
this is the same team that beat Michigan, just a couple
oh,
months ago and we how were we 13-0? I have no idea. I don't know what happened. We were
but we
13 and
say the
0.
same thing every year.
Yeah.
Every year we say something. We're like
That's so
non-conference, like
true.
man, we look good, we look great. Then we get in conference, and it's like something in our head says, "Oh crap, we're in conference play,"
I
and we're a
yeah.
completely different team. So
Well, I mean, we beat Michigan, and that was a good win for us. And I thought, okay, well, that says a lot that we could beat that team in that environment. That says a lot. And then, yeah.
After that,
So
nothing.
I don't see any way that we're making the tournament because we need to win 4 more games
Yeah,
to make the tournament. And I mean, we get Missouri at home.
yeah, I don't either. Goodness. I if somebody said, gun to my head, what do I think we're going to make tournament? I would say no. I
Yeah.
listened to the unofficial 40 guys, and they all said yes. And I'm
Oh,
trying to piece together where they see these 4 wins are coming from because I don't.
I
I mean,
don't either.
Florida. I'm scared to death to know what Florida's going to do to us. Because we have beat Florida in the past, and I
Mm-hmm.
know they remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm scared of that game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss is ranked. They
Mm-hmm.
get a big win at South Carolina. So, I mean, there's games in there. It's like, yeah, can we beat them? Yeah, but there's nothing that I've seen that been like, okay, now we're getting it. So, I mean, second half,
Yeah, we should have beat Texas. We should have won at Missouri. I mean, there's plenty of other games we should have won that we didn't. So I don't see it
yeah,
starting now.
no, I don't either. And
I
that's one
mean,
thing we held off on our pod last night, but I think we're going to start talking about what coaches. I like this is like if anybody knows me, they're like, holy crap, Jeremy's already talking about new coaches. That's not him. Like this is not me. I'm like, what has OU sports done to me? I'm not this type of person. And like you were talking about Venables, I feel the same way that his wife has because I can tell you if I'm at a job and my wife's going through the same thing that his wife was going through, it's going to be real hard for me to care two craps what that's going on because my mind is
absolutely.
with her. So I just I have a sentiment to that to where it's like you can't. I don't care. We're all human,
Yeah,
and you got to understand. Like I put myself in his shoes, and I say, well, if that's my wife, me winning a football
absolutely.
game, I give two craps. And also, too, the best job in America is a fired college football coach. I mean,
Yep.
so
I
I
mean,
mean,
he
he's
wouldn't
got
have a
other
hard time finding another job, that's for sure. And I would be the
no,
same way. I mean, if the shoe was on my foot and it were my husband, yeah, I mean, work is not at the top of your mind. You know, your mental capacity is taken elsewhere.
Brent's loyal to a fault. I
Hmm.
mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
loves his his people, as I call him.
Mm-hmm.
Seth was his people. I know Seth. We're both Okies from Muskogee. Very hard for me to talk mess about Seth because I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
That said, it was a bad hire. It was a
Yeah.
strikeout. We all know that now. So to keep continuously harping on that is we're just beating the same drum over and over again. It's like, yeah, we know it was a
Yeah.
mistake. Joe
Yeah.
John's situation was the only move we could make,
Yeah. At the
and
time. Yeah.
I mean, so I just Arbuckle's got a lot of pressure on him this season.
He
The
sure
kid's
does.
got a lot of pressure on it. But the
Hmm.
thing is we say they got a lot of pressure on him, but we don't need Mateer to be a Heisman Trophy winner.
No.
All we need him to do is be Landry Jones.
Oh
If you
yeah.
want, like, I mean, just go out there, don't make mistakes. But I mean, my father-in-law can't stand Landry Jones to this day. But I'm just like, go out there, move the ball, play complementary football to your going to be stacked defense,
Yeah.
and you're probably going to win a lot of football games.
Hmm.
That's what killed us last year.
Yes.
Is we made too many mistakes and we had an offense that couldn't sustain drives. So I'm excited to see it. I know there's a lot of pressure on Arbuckle, but he doesn't.
Hmm.
They don't need to be great. They just need to be good. That's really all we need.
Exactly. Like you said,
So
just show up and play complimentary football. I will say that did concern me back to Venables with him taking over the play calling for the defense only because I don't know what the current situation is with his wife and like what the status is of that or even what that status is going to be in 6 months. And does he really need that added pressure on him when someone else could be doing it? But then at the same time, like, why do we want to pay somebody millions of dollars when he's got the better defensive mind anyway? So I don't know. I'm worried about him not even just as a coach, but as a person, because like you said, his mind is going to be where it needs to be.
We're not. We need to quit calling him like he's not the defensive coordinator. You can say what you want. Zach Alley was not running that defense last year.
That is
That was
true. That's
Brent.
why he left. That is
Also,
true.
too, like Jim Knowles was not even in the cards. The whole plan was BV to run the defense, and then Jim Knowles calls and throws everything in for loop. And now we feel like if Jim Knowles is not even in the picture, are we really that down with what's happening? Because after Jim Knowles didn't pick us, we're like, oh my God, now Brent's got to run the defense. No, Brent was going to run the defense before, but Jim Knowles called us. We didn't
That's
call
true.
him.
He did. Yeah.
And, and so that changed our whole mindset. And to me, if somebody told me, like, you better be successful this year or you're getting fired from your job, I'd be like, do I want to put trust in somebody else to do this, or do I want to do it myself so I make dang sure that I get everything on track? And I think that's what
Exactly.
so.
I
And
do too.
he's got a really good staff. Chavis is a heck of a recruiter,
Yes, he is.
and you've got some of these young guys that are just good defensive minds. And Venables might have to do a Mike Gundy situation where he runs this defense for a while until he gets these guys that he feels comfortable giving the defense to the keys to the car. So I
Yeah.
I wasn't very upset with like Brent Venables because I'm just like, you know what, guys, he's been running the defense before. It's just they didn't say it. Now they
That's
finally
so
came out.
true. Yeah.
So
That's very true.
I mean, one way you can figure that out is watch Zach Alley. When Zach Alley goes to West Virginia, how many defensive guys followed him there? Zero. And
Exactly.
so you can tell a lot by a guy and like how much he's done for like how the players react. If you get defensive coordinators a lot of times that leave, look at Arbuckle. Arbuckle leaves, who comes with him?
Yep.
McKeer.
So true.
So I mean, I don't think Zach Alley, I mean, I appreciate his time here, but I don't know how much we lose by him, and we're not going to pay a guy 1.5 million.
Yeah, that's
So
true. I definitely don't disagree with that. And, with him being mini Brent Venables, good for him. I hope he goes out there and does well, and good for him. So I agree with you on that. He's not going to be like sorely missed or anything like that. Did you see today that JP Losman, he's going to Washington? And so I was thinking about him. His wife is over at Soul Mission.
hmm
And I thought, oh, if they're leaving, then I
I
don't
think
really know how much impact he was necessarily having on the football team, but good for him for moving on. But I feel like she had a bigger role in the behind the scenes stuff with the players and families and the soul mission and all of that. So I found that kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious what will happen with that, but
I think the Soul Mission is going to be there. I don't know how prominent it's going to be going forward.
yeah.
When you're got Curtis Lofton ran that a lot.
Yeah, and Josh
Uh,
Norman was involved in
Josh
it.
Norman, and both of those guys are leaving.
Mhm.
So it just
Caleb
makes me wonder.
Kelly,
Yeah, Caleb
he's still there.
Kelly, and I think it's still going to be there. I don't know how much of a recruiting ploy it's going to be. I think it's good for some kids, but with the money world we're in now, it's like I don't know how much you can say. Hey, how about it come into our soul mission? And this other school says, well, how about 5 million?
Right.
Because in my mind, I'm be like, what's the
Okay.
5 million? I'm very religious and I love God, but I also like $5 million right now. So
I
I love God and the
Yeah, my husband said the same thing. It's a great program, and I mean, yeah, I support it as well, but they're probably going to say, hey, well, we can put our money into buying these players that we need to spend on that to get the results we need on the field so that people don't lose their jobs, as opposed to promoting something like that. And it's a great program. I've gone the last several years. Brent Venables Foundation, the 212 Foundation, has put on a ladies' clinic in the summer, and we go and spend all day in the Switzer Center, and they show us all kinds of stuff, ins and outs of the stadium and the locker rooms. And the Soul Mission is one of the things that they would talk to us about there. And we got to meet players and staff. And that's really cool. And that JP Losman, his wife, was a main component in that, putting that on as well. So I'm kind of curious how that pans out, because I loved going to that because I'm a huge football fan, and I was born into it just like you were. And so it was really cool for us women who don't normally get to be a part of something like that to go behind the scenes and get to see all of that. But and I do think the Soul Mission thing is really neat, but we got to get those players. And I would hate to see all of those things like that Brent does, like for his foundation, like the ladies clinic. I don't want to lose those things, but at the same time, I mean,
You still have to
if he,
implement those programs, and you still got to keep what's worked, and you got to read guys. I mean, hardest part with coaching is reading each player and what motivates them, but also that's how recruiting goes into.
mm-hmm.
So there, I think as fans sometimes we need to take our crimson colored glasses and quit looking from the top about and try to get into what's going on in the program, like business decisions and what we make, paying players and getting guys in transfer portal. We all want anytime. I love Twitter. I
Oh,
get
me
so many
too.
articles because there's so many people that just any person. I love it when they go in the transfer portal. It's about 6 or 7 mentions from my OU people I follow. Like, oh, there's a Sooner. There's a Sooner. And I'm thinking they got so mad when we got Gibson, the receiver, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm more excited about him. You know why? Because we probably got him for about 500,000, 600,000, where we could have paid for some of the big name receivers. And then, but guys, we're going to pour in 2, 3 million on some of these guys. This is a business now. That's why they're
It is.
bringing in general managers to college football, because you can't just throw money out there. I mean, you can if you're Texas and Oregon, but you can't just like us as Oklahoma Sooner fans have to understand. Like, I'm sorry, we are not going to just throw millions of dollars at every guy that comes in there. But it's just like it frustrates me so bad that we want to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to we were 6 and 7. We've had 2 out of the last 3 years are losing records. So like we're talking about basketball right now, it's not the best product out there. Do I think we are going to the right direction? I do. I like the pickups we got, but
Yeah.
that said, it's still not. When people look at our program, they see 6 and 7 right
Oh,
now. Now,
absolutely.
if Texas can do that and say, "Hey, here, how about $10 million? We're 6 and 7, but here's $10 million. What's $10 million do for you?" So they're like, "Yeah, we can deal with 6 and 7." So, I mean,
I'm real.
Nigel Kennedy went to Texas Tech, and that's the same thing. My daughter's a huge OU fan, and she thought we were going to get her, and she goes, "Dad, why would she go to Texas Tech when you could go to Oklahoma and win a national championship?" I go, "Honey, if that's you, and somebody says, I will give you 1.8 million to come play softball for our program," and OU says, "Well, I can't offer that much, but I'll give you 500,000, but you get to play for Oklahoma," I'd be like, "We're going to be Red Raiders is what we're going to be."
I
I
mean,
will be the biggest Texas Tech fan for the next 2 years. So
yeah,
that's just, as a dad, I'm just being smart for my kid. I want her to, and it's the
it's
world we live in. Women's sports, I fight and I just battle a lot. It is bullcrap to me, especially softball and the amount of revenue that they bring in.
mm-hmm.
These women have to make as much money as they can in college because once they go
Yes,
professional, it ain't there. So
yeah, and that's
I hope
really
it does.
sad.
It is very sad.
It is, and Nigel Kennedy hit a home run off Jordy Ball last weekend.
So that was a heck of a game too.
It sure was. So the professional softball that we do have is, for the most part, is pretty lackluster. And there was a lot of stuff coming out months ago. I'm sure you probably saw where players from other teams and leagues like weren't getting compensated like they were supposed to and not getting taken care of and all that. And that's really sad. And I'm sure the funds aren't there, but like don't promise it if you don't have it. Tina Floyd, she's the owner of the OKC Spark, and I've obviously followed them since day one because hello, they're in the backyard, but and I love softball. And it seems like they treat their players well and they haven't over promised and under delivered and all of that. So that's promising. And I think what they did last season with withdrawing from that league and kind of doing their own thing, which I'm assuming is what they're doing this year as well. That turned out to be good for them, and they've gotten good players and got a good staff. And Destiny Martinez, that played for OU, that she's on the radio sometimes with Plank, she is also employed by the Spark. Even those tickets are very affordable. I got season tickets the first season, and of course I couldn't make all the games because there's quite a few, but the crowds, I mean, there's a decent amount of people there, but when you're putting them in Hall of Fame Stadium, it looks like there's nobody there. But their first season, they played at UCO several games, and of course, it was packed there, and that was nice to see. I mean, I'm sure even if it's a smaller stadium, just knowing that the people are packed in there was nice. But yeah, you get them in Hall of Fame, and you're just like, people, come watch this. I mean, I know it's hot, but at Hall of Fame you can sit in the shade, and the tickets are cheap, affordable, and there's great named athletes there to watch.
Let me tell you, this is a plan that I've said to some of my friends, and you tell me I'm crazy. I think that if we want to grow professional softball, what we should do is what's big in Oklahoma softball? Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah.
So you have Oklahoma City Sparks. You have the teams in, like let's say Tennessee, put these big markets to softball. And when they graduate, let's say a Tennessee volunteer graduates, she goes to the Tennessee team. I mean, Oklahoma City Sparks do that anyways. They take a lot of OU girls. But while they're fresh on these minds, like Kinsey Hansen leaves, all the little girls on my team, my softball team, they love Kinsey Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
They love Jada Coleman. They love Tiara Jenny. Who do they want to see? Those girls. Yeah. They don't want to see some girl that they've been rooting against for the last 4 years. So like geographically put these girls in position where they can build revenue for their teams.
Yeah, and then the support's already there. Yeah.
And then later on, if they want to still play and they want to go to different markets, say, hey, the first 3 years you're at this team. And
that makes sense.
So I mean, it's then you're not moving. Girls aren't moving and having to like. It just seems like an easy fix just to get the name out there because they're trying to piggyback off of the college World Series and do it like right after. But everybody's confused by the rules and how the scoring system works. It's like just play softball.
Yeah.
Don't do what basketball, all these other sports do, like Major League Baseball, and say, okay, we're going to put a pitch clock on it, speed the game up. Yeah. No, you're going to make people who love Major League Baseball mad. Mm-hmm. Like me, I love baseball, Major League Baseball. I'm a Braves fan, so I'm like, don't put all these rules in there. Like, play baseball. Don't piss off the people that are watched it for years. So,
right? That makes sense.
So, and I think sometimes it's just as easy as just like put players that people know in that area, so people will want to come watch them play. So
that makes sense.
I signed a scholarship out of high school to play basketball for a team that the reason they brought me in is because people knew my name. That was literally the only reason they brought me in. And so I knew that the minute I signed it, but they gave me a full-ride scholarship. So I'm like, okay. But that said, it's like, you make decisions, and as professional teams, it seems like you're recruiting names that people know in order to bring them in there. So,
yep, it's so true. And I mean, I think that's a good idea. I don't know what the team structure is going to be like this year for that softball league. So I'm kind of intrigued to ask them, if there's going to be a draft type process like they've done before, or, what are they going to do? So I don't know, but I'm with you. I think choose those girls. Like even Sydney Sherrill, I mean, she's from Moore, but she played at Florida State, and now she's come back and played for the Spark since day one, and she's still playing for them this summer. But she has fans there. Her whole family is there every game I've ever been to for the Spark. She's got like half a section full of people wearing her jersey and signs and all the things. So like that matters too. And so, I think there's plenty of talented athletes to work with. I think that's a good plan.
There's a lot of things that when college softball's done, my family gets tired of me. Just like, I ought to be a commissioner of professional softball of my ideas that I have. But they're always like, oh, you're going to go on this little tangent again about this. Because it's like, my daughter's getting older and she's about to start getting recruited. She's a pitcher. And
that's awesome.
getting to the point to where it's just like we got to go to all these showcases and stuff like that, and it
Mhm.
frustrates me because I see how much attention all these OU softball players get, and
Mhm.
they don't see nearly the amount of money that these football players do. And
They
it's men and
don't.
women, I understand, but I
I know.
know how many the OU softball people go follow them around the world, and it's just look
They
at
do.
California last weekend. Looking right
Ah,
behind that plate, all those OU fans. So
yep. That
that's
is
in
true.
California. So I mean, it's just that's for another day for me to keep complaining about that. But it is something that I'm very passionate about, just because I see it and I see what they go through, and I know what they have to do work wise because I know what my bank account looks like for all the lessons we pay for. So
I
it
was gonna
is.
say, yeah, if she's a pitcher, because that's pitching lessons and all the hours and the equipment, all the things. Yeah, so I can imagine.
So
I think I mentioned it last week on mine, but I was talking about or thinking about Patty, and I went to the softball luncheon a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how she was going out to the West Coast to the smaller schools instead of doing the tournaments and stuff like they had done before, and her reason behind doing that. And I just thought that was so cool because like she realizes the influence that she not only her has had on the sport but her team and the
mhm.
name on their jerseys and what they mean, and went out there last weekend, and like you said, there was tons of Oklahoma people there, but they brought in stands. They went
Yeah.
what four cities, four different stadiums, and they brought stands to put in the outfield, and they filled them up every day, every game, and sold them out. And she even told one of the schools, they were like, "We don't charge admission," and she was like, "Well, you do now."
Yeah, Bella Marymount was it? They said, "Well, we're not going to charge admission." She goes, "Well, then we're not coming."
We're not
So it's
coming.
like, why would you not? I mean,
I
it,
know.
it just goes back to like you have to take advantage of
Yes.
situations and like, build money into programs and sports that aren't those big money getters. So it's like Loyola Marymount was very good basketball program back in the 80s. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't think they're bringing in the revenue now. So it's like, why would you not take advantage of that? So I think
Exactly.
Patty tries to help them out, a lot of these programs out, and
Mm-hmm.
she's an ambassador to college softball. To me, when she hangs it up, she's going to go down as the best college softball coach to ever live. And with Mike Andreas at Arizona and
Mm-hmm.
some of these other big names, to just have her name at the top, I think is, and her being a woman is
Oh,
pretty
yes.
amazing
And
because
she's
it's just,
ours.
yeah, I mean, she's at Reeves Park, they're cleaning up trash when she first started. I mean,
Mm-hmm. I
it's just like,
remember.
it is a true story of just taking a program that was a rock bottom and bringing them to the echelon that where there's really no other way to go but down. I
Yeah,
mean, she can't do anything else. So,
she cannot. I anticipate she'll win a gold medal at the Olympics in 4 years or 3 years, and that will probably be how she goes out. And what
mhm.
better way to go out? But yeah, I've been preparing myself, I guess you could say. I tell people this all the time is, we have been at the top for so long with softball that there's nowhere else to go but down. And, we've come off football the last few years, which has not been satisfying to us, and we're just like, okay, well, it's almost softball season, and then they've totally mended our little broken hearts. But I have to remind myself, like, that class that we lost, that was the greatest senior class in the history ever of softball. Like, we're never going to replicate that. I mean, the kids that we have on the field now are super talented. I think they could make a good run, and I'm not saying they could or couldn't win a national championship, whether it's now or in a couple years. But I just have to remember, like, these aren't the same people. Like, we have been so lucky, like, we're so spoiled. But we have to remember to respect these kids for who and what they are. They're not Jada Coleman, they're not Kinsey, but they're Isabella Emmerling, they're Bella Smith, and they're dang good at who they are. And so I just have to remind myself that the losses are going to come. Like last year when we got beat, and broke our win streak pretty early in the season, like that was kind of hard to deal with. I mean, we knew it was coming, and I mean, it can only go on for so long, but it still sucks when it finally ends. So I'm just like, okay, well, when it happens, it's gonna be okay. Like, we're
Well,
gonna be all right.
when you have a class that's lost 15 games altogether in their career on a sport that you're supposed to lose some games.
Yeah.
I joked around on our pod the other night. I said, we've made losing obsolete. Like when
Oh
we
yeah.
lose, like don't have a good team this year, do we? And it's like one game. Like
I
I
know.
saw myself watching San Diego State, thinking, "Golly, we're gonna lose this game. What is this team just? What are we?" And
Game
then I had to
two.
catch
Mm.
myself. I'm like, "Okay, this is the second game, and there's
Yeah.
been before that class where it's like we start off slow, and then Gasso teams just start that when it starts getting close to playoff time,
They only
they
get
start.
better.
So I just it's just the nature of what she's built, and it's like Barry Switzer said a long time ago. I have created a monster, and now I have to feed it. She has to feed the monster, unfortunately,
That's
and
so true.
we're to the point where it's like if we don't win a national championship now, it's like, well, this is a failure. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I hope I'm wrong, but we are probably not going to win a national championship this year. It's hard to replace that much talent.
Yeah.
Now, if we do that, this will be the best coaching job Patty Gasso's ever done.
Oh,
If we win,
absolutely.
so I just there and I there's so many good players. Agbiani, you got Dayton's going is I mean, you put her if you don't have Jada Coleman last year, you probably look at Dayton and be like, well, she's definitely probably one of the best center fielders we ever had.
Hmm.
I mean, she didn't make an error last year. I mean, she's just a stud, and her and Ella Parker and Cassie Pickering are just going to be those staples all season long. But like we forget, Emmerling,
Yeah.
Agbiani, girls that are going to contribute, and we're going to start learning some of these names as the season goes on. But right now, they're these mysterious girls with these different numbers that we're not used to seeing because
I know.
that's
It
that's been there.
it's hard to see somebody else wearing number 9, number 24, all those faces that we're used to, pairing with certain numbers, but I mean, honestly, the talent we lost will never be replaced, I don't think, by anybody ever. I mean, it was just incredible. But then I look at what we do have, and like you said, like we're going to learn these names and see all this talent for the next, few months over the season. But I'm like, look at them. They're super talented. Anybody would pay a lot of money to have the roster and the talent that we have now. So I'm not complaining. I'm going to enjoy watching them, and I hope they do great things and they go far, and I will be there to watch all of it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it wouldn't
it's all.
we lost a couple this weekend. I mean, going to Waco, I don't know. I think we're going to drop a few here that you're going to be like, huh, how we lose those games? And then
Well,
later on the season, you're going to look back and be like, how did we lose to Baylor there? But
we
it's just, we're
lost to
still,
Baylor down there a couple years ago, so
and we
I
looked at it and
mean,
we're like, that was our loss with Baylor?
I
But it
know
was one of those nights. Like, hey, Long Beach State felt like that. It's just like,
it did.
this doesn't feel like we're going to win it. I mean, but we mentioned this last night on our pod. Winners win, losers lose. Patty Gasser wins. Porter Moser loses.
Well,
Porter ways to lose. Patty finds ways to win. That's the difference of the program. So
that is so true. Yeah, our basketball team gets down 20 points and they turn around and make it 30. Our softball team goes 11 innings but with no score and they just go ahead and decide to win so we can all watch the Super Bowl on time. I mean,
yeah,
you're exactly right. There's
well,
no
yeah, so
greater statement.
Patty Gasso knows how to win. So that's
She
just
does.
her DNA. She doesn't know how to lose. So
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And ready for the day for our football team to find that and our basketball team to find that. Our women's basketball team, though, they're looking good. So I
no,
hope,
our women's sports, we don't have a problem.
yeah,
Our women's
yeah,
sports are fine. Women's gymnastics, women's basketball, women's
yep.
softball. Like anything that has women in it, I don't worry about. It's the men that keep screwing everything up. We screw everything up.
I'm not going to make a comment on that. My husband would roll his eyes and laugh because he knows I got something smart ass to say about that.
Hey, I say it all the time. I'm like, men keep screwing it up for OU sports because our women's got it handled. So
Oh,
it,
gosh. Man, it's
you know,
rough.
it's like we're talking with Patty Gasso. When Bob left, he left a unbelievable roster for Lincoln Riley to succeed.
He did.
When Lincoln Riley left, he did not.
Yep.
And we pieced everything together. We were lucky enough to get Dylan Gabriel. What happens when Gabriel leaves? It's quarterback driven is what college football is all about. So you
So
don't have good
true.
quarterback play, you're probably not going to be very successful. That's why I'm excited about Mateer. And hopefully,
I
like I
agree.
said, he don't have to be a Heisman Trophy winner. Just give me just decent.
And that kid, he is everywhere. He has gotten very involved in other sports and showing up at basketball and gymnastics. And I'm sure he'll be at softball and baseball and all that. And that's really cool to see that
Yeah.
he's, trying to relate to students and get out there. And he seems like a great kid. And he
He
seems
does.
talented, and I'm excited. I'm with you. I think he's a good fit, and
Gets it. And
yeah, he
I don't
does.
think, you didn't see Jackson out there like, and I'm not going to just attack a kid. I think he got put in a bad situation.
He did.
That said, there's a lot of things I look at and I say probably could have done different. Yeah, but that
Yeah.
said, Mateer understands like I'm at a new school. I need to get my face out there. If I'm going to
Mhm.
be the quarterback of the University of Oklahoma, it's a little different than being the quarterback at Washington State.
Mhm.
So like you get your face out there, and also too, he's making millions of dollars, and they might have said something to him as, "You need to market yourself in this
Yep.
program. We're
And
going
he's
to pay you
doing
this
it.
much money."
He's
So
doing it. So,
if you think those conversations are bad, you're crazy. So
yeah, for sure. I think that Jackson will go to Auburn and do well. Of course they come to Norman in September, so that'll be fun.
yeah, I think Brent might have some stuff for him. I can guarantee you.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, I'll be saying my prayers and doing all the things before that game because is that our first SEC
I believe
home
it
game?
is.
I
I
think it
believe it.
is. Yeah. Oh boy.
I'll tell you, I'll take Auburn over Tennessee coming to town like
Oh,
this
for
year.
sure. Oh, listen, I heard Rocky Top way too much last year. I don't have any desire to go there anytime soon on a road trip. I've heard
And
enough.
what's really funny is I can't tell you how many friends I call them. TikTok has brought me a world that I have a lot of that. My wife makes fun of me. She's like your little TikTok family, but I have a lot of
Yeah.
Tennessee follow me, and they will get on there and basically take up for me a lot of times. They're like, he's the best OU fan ever. Like, I love
Aw.
it. And so, like, Tennessee people got a special spot in my heart. Really funny is I got a lot of Texas fans that they're just like, I have this guy that he comments on my videos. He's like, I hate OU, but I love you.
That's
And so,
awesome.
I told my wife the other day, I go, that that means a lot to me because it's like I don't go in there and just like I do talk crap some, but I'm not like
Right.
somebody that they know most of it's joking. I had this Texas guy one time on one of my TikTok lives. He goes, this dude was trying to like talk crap to me from Texas, and he was a Texas fan. He goes, "Do you not follow him?" And that guy's like, "No," and he goes, if you don't follow him, you don't need to be talking crap to him. Like he literally is not. He is makes fun of his team more than he talks crap.
Yes. That is so
So,
true.
and so it's so funny. TikTok is brought me a lot of new friends from a lot of different schools. That
That's
it's funny.
awesome.
I made a bet with a guy for the Tennessee game. I had to wear a Tennessee shirt for one of my TikTok lives. So
Oh
I
my gosh, I didn't see that.
I was maybe a few beverages in too late after the game, and I got on there and did it. And I said, I'm a man of my word. And they all were
That's
just like,
amazing.
I'll give you all the gifts you want. So I'm like, I made a lot of
See,
money that night.
this is why I don't make those bets because I can't do it. I can't put on that shirt, especially if it's orange. I can't do it.
Oh, you
But
should have
that's
saw the Tennessee shirt when it came in. My wife goes, "What in the crap is a Tennessee shirt doing here?" I was like, I got to get it just in case, but I'll sell it. And I sold it for like $20. And I bought it for 10. So
hey. Well, it's
that's
better Tennessee than burnt orange or OSU orange. I'll give you that.
yeah.
I think I told you this, but your TikToks were pretty famous among a friend group of mine during football season. There were three or four of us in a group, and it was just like somebody was always sending one of your TikToks because we were just like, this guy, we feel his sentiment, like he is on point.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I reached out to you, and I told them, I was like, I'm gonna interview him for my show, and I said, you're TikTok famous to us. You're like our TikTok friend, but so I get the
Uh,
family thing because
that's
yeah,
wonderful.
we've shared a lot of your TikToks.
Well, there was a lady at Walmart took a picture with me and sent to her husband, so that was pretty
Oh,
funny.
that's
So
so cool. I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, well, like you said, TikTok family and you get famous. Well, thank you, Jeremy, for talking today, and we'll have to do this again soon.
absolutely,
Um,
anytime.
we'll have plenty more to talk about when football comes around for sure, and maybe at the end of softball season. So,
There you go. Yeah,
so
just let me know. I'm always happy to come on.
well, thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Boomer Sooner.